Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. I think Microsoft is a danger to the video games industry. I'm ripping the band-aid right off. No, this is not like clickbait or a wild opinion. Microsoft for the last couple years has been directly harming the physical gaming marketplace, okay? And the reason why I'm making this video is because Microsoft decided to kind of twist my nipple a little bit, if you will. They made a post on their actual Microsoft Store account yesterday, which they actually deleted because they got ratioed hardcore. I ended up ratioing Microsoft. I'm not saying that's the reason for them deleting it, but it's also because what they showcased was entirely, in my opinion, false advertising. Now, I'm sorry for the guerrilla-style videography. This is me recording my phone screen simply because this post doesn't exist anymore. But here, Microsoft is touting, whoa, gaming back in the old days? Filthy. They had to whip out the physical disc binder and rip out games one by one. Look at how cool Game Pass is. You can just download and play without getting off your ass. If it takes you that long to get off your ass to switch a disc, you've got severe problems. This is how long it takes to switch a disc. Oh shit, gotta insert disc 2, grab the case. Whoa, I'm at my system. Woo, switch the disc. Whoa, I'm back. That's how long it takes, okay? Nowadays, you don't even have to switch like disc 1 and 2 anymore. You just gotta put the disc in before you play. I get it. Convenience is important, all right? A second saved is a second you could have been gaming. But to me, I would rather spend a minute of my life if it meant owning the actual games that I buy. Now, the reason why I choose to buy discs, even for a lot of games that I could buy on PC anyways, games like Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, which is an amazing game, great title, and the fact that I own the entire game physically, meaning that without any internet connection, I can put this copy of the game into my PS5, it will install off of the disc, not through the internet. No, it doesn't need to update. It installs, and I can play the game from start to the credit screen without ever updating the game, requiring the internet. That means Sony can't stop me from playing this fucking game. That means From Software, Bandai Namco can't stop me from playing the game. The reason I play and buy physical discs is because if I ever wanted to play an older version of the game before they patched out stupid stuff, you know, abusive glitches, like Elden Ring, for instance, where they started nerfing summons and whatnot, I can just install the 1.0 build of Elden Ring and play the game with all of the bugs and speedrunning stuff intact. It's a common reason why I do it. And I know there's a few amount of people going, but Muda, physical discs don't matter. You gotta install the game anyways. And look, I'm not here to appeal to disingenuous people. I've made this argument a million times. Disconnect from the internet, install a physical disc, and you will be able to play the game 99% of the time without the patches. Yes, the patches help, but they are not a requirement. And here's the thing, I can appeal to stupid people because they can't understand these concepts, but I've explained this a million times, so I feel like anybody that's still bringing this up to me is just being facetious. And that's not who I care to argue to, okay? If you are stupid or ignorant of the facts, it's okay to be stupid, okay? There's a lot of people who don't understand why games need to be installed to a drive, okay? As games get larger, back in the days of the PS2 era when you were playing your games and you could just put the disc in and play, that's because games were smaller. The speeds that those discs would be read at would not pose a problem, okay? You could load games in now. If you played a game released today, games like Starfield, games like Spider-Man 2 that's coming out, Cyberpunk 2077, Grand Theft Auto 5 even, without installing the data to a hard drive, which allows faster read speeds, things like SSDs, you would be waiting, instead of 5 seconds to load into a portion of Spider-Man 2, you'd be waiting 5 to 10 minutes, because these are 100 gigabyte games we're dealing with. Discs can store 100 gigabytes. It'll just take you an hour to install that entirely from the disk to the actual SSD, which allows the games to be read way faster. That's why games need to be installed, okay? It's not that the game isn't on the disk, it's just it needs to be transferred to a faster medium. Anyways, why am I talking about this hardcore? Because Microsoft, when they were showing that entire footage, actually showcased older games like Jet Set Radio Future. So I want to ask Microsoft, where the fuck in the actual Game Pass, your subscription service. Hell, ignore Game Pass. Where in your backwards compatibility do you actually even have Jet Set Radio Future? By the way, one of the best games for the original Xbox. Oh, you can't have Jet Set Radio Future. It's far less likely because Microsoft closed their backwards compatibility program, and even if they didn't, the actual music licensing would be an issue for Microsoft to re-release going forward. Which is exactly why I always say physical copies and emulators are great, because even when greedy companies prevent you from playing the games you grew up with, emulators like Zemu on the PC allow you to play Jet Set Radio Future. This is me playing Jet Set Radio Future on a computer emulator, okay? You could even run this on the Steam Deck if you wanted. You don't need a NASA-grade supercomputer to do this. This is me playing the game that I own under an emulator. I don't need Microsoft. I don't need anybody to do this. Now, Microsoft recently is shutting down the Xbox Store, which means that hundreds of games are actually at risk, okay? Meaning that over time, when the store drops, what'll happen is you can't access some of these games again. Hundreds, maybe thousands of games from the Xbox Arcade, Xbox 360 storefront, the Xbox Indie, games list where they were selling games for $1. Those are all gone, okay? And this is not something that should shock anybody. When you buy digitally, you are renting your games. You're not owning any of it physically, meaning you don't have the data available. It's all gone. Now, of course, Phil Spencer, who has always pretty much said, there are a list of 220 games that are not back compatible. And I have that list, and I've got it stapled on my forehead, and how can we make sure you can play them? How many of those are on PC? That's one thing, because it doesn't necessarily mean you won't be able to play it on existing hardware you bought 15 years ago. Preservation is front and center when all these decisions are made. I'll say for us that preservation that's linked to only one piece of hardware is a challenge, because there can be hardware love as well, people who love and want this device to do this forever. But mechanical things will break over time. Yeah, that's why we have emulators, Phil. That's why we use emulation. But this is what I hate about Phil talking and basically virtue signaling about preservation, when even modern Xbox Series games are not preserved. This is why I say the industry is actually being harmed by Microsoft, because so far, a lot of game publishers, every gaming company who produces consoles still has physical discs or physical cartridges in play for now. Now, PlayStation 5 has a digital version, which doesn't come with a disc, a disc reader, which basically forces you to rely on Sony to buy games off of. It's not a PC where you can download 5 or 6 different storefronts. You are effectively tied down to whatever Sony offers you and whatever sales they provide. And if Sony delists a game before you buy it, you are shit out of luck, as you can never get that game again. Same goes for Microsoft and the Series S console, even for something like the Nintendo Switch, which has actual cartridges. The problem with cartridges is they are notoriously expensive. And this is why I have actually not bought certain physical games, just because Nintendo Switch games are not even entirely on the cartridge as well too. For instance, Metal Gear Solid The Master Collection, okay? They have a physical copy right now you can get on October 24th. You know what's on this goddamn physical cartridge? Nothing! For instance, even if you buy the physical cartridge, they write over here, internet connection required, 24.1 gigs you gotta download. So literally on here, they said the cartridge has 2.4 gigs. You still have to download Metal Gear Solid 1, okay? That's 4.8 gigs now. How the fuck a 2-disc PlayStation 1 experience has now ballooned nearly 5 gigs is beyond me, okay? Metal Gear Solid 2 also has to be downloaded. Metal Gear Solid 3 also has to be downloaded. And then the bonus content, a gig and 30 gigs for bonus videos. Why even release a physical cartridge? Because what'll happen is the more they release shit like this, the more the internet community will say, see, physical copies mean nothing, but you still have to download the game. This is maybe 1% of the marketplace that is like this. Why? The PS5 version, for instance, you don't gotta download anything. It's all available on the actual Blu-ray. Same for the PS4. In fact, same for the Xbox Series X and S. So yeah, the Switch physical version might as well die out. Even when it comes to Microsoft, their physical copies like Halo Infinite, a great video by General Kid, where he showcases him actually taking the disc out. This is the Series X Xbox One disc. Because it's supposed to be smart play, basically you can put this disc into any Xbox One or Series X and play the game. However, the difference is, once you put the game in, you install the 14 gigs that are on the disc. So 14 gigs is very small for Halo Infinite. And the reason we know this is even when you start the game up, it will literally tell you, after pressing the A button prompt, you have to go online to complete the installation of Halo Infinite. So their flagship game is not even shipped on a disc. Meaning if this game was good, if it actually was amazing, you couldn't even preserve it because you were always tied to Microsoft's DRM, Microsoft's storefront. That's it. You know, games like Spider-Man 2 that are coming out are on disc. Games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second part to that remake trilogy, that's on 2 PS5 discs. So meaning that no matter what, Square will have you owning your game. You know, games like Cyberpunk 2077, even though they launched in a really shit state, are still playable from start to finish. In fact, I'm working a video on playing the original build. It's actually, you could use it as a form of torture. I'm not even kidding. But when it comes to Microsoft's flagship game, yeah, they don't even print it all on the disc either. And this isn't like, oh, this is just because Muda, it's between two systems. Do you really want them to put 2 builds of the game? No, ladies and gentlemen, even Starfield, yes, the recently released RPG from Bethesda, still does not ship entirely on its physical disc. You still need to fucking download this single player game from Microsoft Store. They could have put it all on 1 disc. Hell, if the game was that big, they could have spread it across 2 discs. Developers do this. Microsoft does not, because Microsoft doesn't really care about preservation. All they care about is you being forced to download from their digital storefront or subscribe to Game Pass, okay? And Game Pass is great. I think it's amazing for people who don't have $60 to burn on a video game. You buy Game Pass for a couple bucks a month and you get access to a whole bevy of amazing games. You don't own those games, but you still get access to them. But this is the modern future of like where you'll own nothing and you will be happy. Literally, these flagship titles from Microsoft are not even shipped entirely on disc, and I thought it would change with Starfield, but it didn't, okay? This is the future for Microsoft. They don't care about you owning your video game. Hell, that is the last thing that ever rolls through their head. What Microsoft, Xbox, Phil Spencer care about is raising Game Pass numbers, and if that means creating an ecosystem of video games where you don't even own your own product anymore, your own purchase, that's what they care about. And listen, I have no fanboyism in me, okay? I call out Sony when they do stupid shit like creating a cloud Wii U tablet. Waste of money right there, okay? Absolutely waste. A waste. They could have made an amazing Sony Vita 2, but they didn't. They didn't care. So that's gone. They could have made a portable PS4 and that would have sold like hotcakes, you know? That would have been great. Nintendo, you know, they've created a great, you know, handheld system that everyone loves, okay? Lasts for like 4 hours. You can play Tears of the Kingdom. Pretty fun. Microsoft, they've created arguably one of the best consoles of all time, at least from a hardware perspective. But in doing so, they have consistently contributed to killing preservation and ownership. And the fact that Microsoft took that video down yesterday because they realized just how badly their message is conveyed. Because here's the thing. It's good to see most gamers kind of agree with me on this situation, okay? Even if you're like somebody that loves the convenience of digital ownership, actually owning your games is something that we should be fighting for. Look, there are tons of mediums like movies, like music, where you can actually own your product, okay? Or at least it's not consistently tied down to having specific hardware, dealing with DRM and whatnot. When it comes to something like video gaming, I think the industry is trying to condition people to be okay with perpetually renting your games, which is not okay, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a video I make like a million times, but honestly, I feel like we should just consistently be giving pushback because honestly, Microsoft was shunned a decade ago for releasing the Xbox One with an internet-only like requirement. Now I feel like if Microsoft did that, every Xbox gamer, or most of them, would be completely okay with getting shafted. Ladies and gentlemen, honestly, it's one of the reasons why I haven't bought an Xbox game in years. And would I like to buy Xbox titles? Yeah. But do I want to see any effort put in from Phil Spencer on actually owning the box and the games that I buy? Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and yeah, I'm out.